Hello, my name is Myra Tainsley, and I am recording this on April the 22nd, 2018. And I am the proud single mother of a young man with autism here in the state of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. His name is Marquis. He just turned 25 years old on April the 9th of this year. I am African American, and so is my son, and I think that's pretty significant with the way that he's been treated and I've been treated. He has not been allowed to have any contact with me. The last phone call that he was allowed to make to me was May the 13th, 2017, I'm sorry. And the last time he's been able to see me has been over 3 years ago, because March the 15th, 2015 was the last time he was allowed to visit with his own mother, a loving, supported, professional mother. I have not abused or neglected my son like they're doing. And the last time I actually seen my son was through my own efforts, and that was on July the 8th, 2015. And I had remember my son telling me that he would be going to a counseling appointment, which the U.S. Department of Education initiated because of the complaint I made to them concerning Marquis, that's my son's name, being thrown in seclusion closet. So they ordered Columbus City Schools to provide counseling to him because they knew that he was being traumatized. But unfortunately, he's been more traumatized by the so-called developmental disability professionals and all the people in the system that abuse and neglect and exploit people like my son for a living. But anyway, so July the 8th, 2015, that was the last time I viewed my son. And he had gained a whole lot of weight from when I had just seen him on March the 15th, 2015. So almost 4 months earlier. And you can see the picture of that. That's on my cover photos of my Facebook pages. I have 3 of them besides my, individual page. And on the cover pages, all 4 pages have the same cover page and profile page. So if you go to any of them, you'll see how my son had changed in those 3 months because they pushed him to the maximum dosage of Thorazine. He's supposed to have been off of that, but the state of Ohio wanted to keep him on that. And then the corrupt, sick, evil, lying lawyer by the name of Erin Sanford, she's my son's limited guardian or fraudian. And she went ahead and consented for him to be placed on lithium and the maximum dose of Thorazine. And he had gained all that weight. It just looked like his head and his trunk was, blown up with helium. His head was just so swollen. Because I would hear my son gasping for breath when he was talking to me. You could tell he was short of breath. So, but what I'm doing, and I mentioned I have 3 Facebook pages. The last page that I created was called, or it is called, the audio tapes of Marquis Tainsley, his abuse, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. So that is the last page that I created that I'm putting my son's recordings on because, they always have, they have this fantasy, there's a lot of racism in this, but they have a fantasy of trying to break up the black family. And see, I'm supposed to be in a silent mode as a black mother. If I see anything, I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut. Because they don't like, racist white people don't like black people coming in. Now, the counterparts, now white people can go in there and raise sand and jump up and down and, have a spasm. But as black people, especially racist white people, they don't want you saying anything. You're supposed to just accept it. And I call it the silent mode, but I'm not that type of black mother. Because I come with evidence. I'm not, and I'm a Christian too, so I'm not sick or scared of sick. Well, I am sick of them, but I'm not scared of racist, evil, sick people because I know God is in control. But I think another thing, not only am I confident in being a Christian, because I've seen God do a lot of things already, but I know that I have evidence. Nobody can send me a letter and say, oh, you're lying, you're slandering us, cease and desist. I don't do it that way. If I put it out there, there's evidence that goes right along with it. And that's what all three of the pages are really about that. Because I have a page, the first page I created was the abuse and neglect of autistic Marquis sanctioned by the government. And I always tell people, start from the very beginning. Because that's the primary reason why they don't want me to have contact with him, because they know I collect evidence. I don't like doing it, but I got corrupt, evil scum in me and my son's, in our lives. So, you have to do that. At least I do when you're dealing with corrupt people. So that's the first one. And I always tell people to start from the beginning, because back when I first started it, I had a lot of evidence that I was collecting showing the abuse and neglect of my son. And now I don't really have a whole lot of pictures and stuff like I used to, because they have not allowed me to see him. And I said, I'm not going to walk away from my son, and I'm going to report this stuff, because I believe God is going to definitely use Marquis, but he's going to use me too. I said, because this stuff needs to be reported. And I'm just the type of mother, through all the suffering that my son has went through, I'm going to stick by him, and I'm going to show the world what he's been through. And me too as a mother, because I'm a victim in this thing. I said, because I know nobody would want to go in there and hear their son or daughter, especially if they're disabled, hear the things that my son has told me and seen the things I have seen. And that's why none of that scum from the governor of Ohio, John Kasich, on down, to our Department of Developmental Disability, Franklin County government, Franklin County Probate Court, Aaron Sanford, all that scum that worked at the state facility that they were abusing my son in. He's being abused now in the community by a home DD staff by the name of Consumer Services, or Disability Rights Ohio, who went after Gene Harris in the Columbus school district, Columbus City District School District, but they wouldn't go after the CDC when I gave them evidence and told them about my son being assaulted, because I even see him being abused. And it's so much. And that's why I like for people just go to the pages. But the first two pages, the justice page, that's the second page, Justice for Autistic Marquis Tanksley. The first page, like I said, is the abuse and neglect of autistic Marquis Tanksley by the government. And the third page is the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. But the first two pages, I tell people to go to the very beginning, because then you can see all the evidence. The justice page and the abuse and neglect page. Now this audio tape page, I'm still putting tapes on there. And I got, I'm only in 2012. And I got all the way up to the last time I talked to my son last year. And so I got many, many more. I got hundreds of photographs. And all this stuff is not on the pages. But I got enough evidence to show people it ain't just my imagination or my son's imagination. And I'm not full of hot air. That's the way I do it. But we just got pure scum in our lives. That scum that God talks about in the Bible. The Bible is full of a lot of things that the Lord doesn't like, that he considers sin. And injustice is one of them. And it's just throughout the Bible. But when God talks about injustice, he's not talking about the average Joe on the street. He's talking about these people that work in the courts. Judges, magistrates, lawyers, a court investigator. I always give a background, which is what I'm giving now. But And then I always tell people what they're going to hear on this particular tape for this particular date, because it's November 26th and 27th, 2012. And on it, it proves that a court investigator by the name of Eric Horvath lied on my son. Now, they slander me like no tomorrow, because they don't like me coming in and saying anything. I'm supposed to be in a silent mode. Because they always say I escalate Marquis. I said, well, no. He's venting to me, not because of me. By the time I get over there, because y'all didn't know how to work with autistic residents, and you got abusive staff that assaults and beat on the residents, his mind would just be in a turmoil, like from sensory overload, and he'd be so agitated and stuff that when I would get over there, being so traumatized, he would tell me, and you'll hear it on this tape. I mean, it's throughout all the tapes. Mom, take me home. Mom, they restrain me. Mom, they abuse me. It's too noisy. It's too loud. I love you. I miss you. It's in all the tapes. It's all on tape. It's just so, when you got scum like, Judge or dishonorable Judge Robert Montgomery of probate court, I said, these people are in denial, just like they are about racism. I said, but ain't none of them, and they're lawyers. I said, because I'm putting a challenge out there. Sue me. If I'm lying, sue me. But they've been to the pages. No, I don't play. I put the evidence out there, so nobody can really say anything. But I would get over there, and my son would be so terrorized and traumatized, and he would just start venting to me, and it would just tear my heart in two. Because, I had to make sure, first, a mother that loves their child or father doesn't want to hear that. To know your son's been suffering and he's in the wrong place and that sort of thing. So, when I would get over there, and I found Marquis sometimes hiding in the closet, just trying to filter out the environment. All the noise, all the staff that didn't know how to work with him, setting him off, triggering, and all the different triggers and stuff. It was just a plumb nightmare, and he's still living a nightmare. But I believe Lord going to bring him back. I said, I just have to trust Jesus, his way and his time, and to protect my son. And I said, I know you're with him because you never left Joseph's life, but God can use this because, see, to them, my son is nothing. Because, they don't respect black people in this country. We're treated negatively, by the racist, white culture in America. And not all white people are racist. That's why you got some of them out there melting. Because they're not in denial. They recognize and they can admit and acknowledge that there's racism in this country. So not all of them are racist, but the majority of them are. But our lives mean nothing. Like my motherhood don't mean nothing. But he really ain't nothing. He black to them. He's disabled, he's a male. So his life don't mean nothing. Only thing they care about is the money that they get. Because everybody make money off of these wars, the federal funds, So, like the scummy, racist, lying piece of crap, Erin Sanford, she works with the Nine Law Group. And I just put another post on Facebook about her with all the complaints that, that I have seen. And I compiled them together and stuff. All she cares about is getting his SSI money. Because that's what this woman does. She gets wars and, they get their SSI money if they're disabled. And probably the elderly, too. They probably, get their finances and stuff. But they make money off of these so-called wars. And he's living in poverty. He's living in a terrible neighborhood. And he lives in a Section 8 townhome. And all of is surrounded by trash and alleys and everything. And the state of Ohio bought it. And the neighborhood's so bad they had to erect a metal black gate around it. And because when Marquis first got there, he was describing it to me. Because, see, they know he's able to tell me things because my son is high functioning. So he could tell me if somebody abused him or choking, like he has. That's back in 2015. I haven't even got to that year yet. And he's also tell me, he could tell me if, if they move him. I mean, he could tell me a lot of things. So they don't want me, but I challenge the scum to try to sue me, Ron O'Brien, all of them. Bring it on. I said, because I ain't met a devil or a piece of scum. And I said, and these people sit up and try to make themselves so ethical and put down other people. But the Bible even says these people exist. So people don't have to feel bad because when I walk down to the Franklin County Courthouse, it's just like I'm walking into hell. You can just feel all the evil spirits. And it ain't, the common people. It's these judges and prosecutors and all that kind of stuff. You just feel like to me, it's like going into a landfill. I said, this ain't nothing but legalized criminals down here. Because I've been in the court process. I've seen the records. I've seen how they slandered my son. They mislabeled him. Franklin County Board of Developmental Disabilities, they ain't nothing but trash over there. Racist trash. But they mislabeled Marquis as being moderately retarded so they could have him committed over there to the state of Ohio facility that abused him. And while he was abused, because I went and told everybody just turned their head and allowed my son to be beaten, stolen from, traumatized, terrorized. He suffered like hell over there, and he's still suffering. And that's why I said I won't even, if you go to the Facebook page, you'll see how I got the flag upside down. Ain't nobody going to say nothing to me about it either. And I put no rights. I said, because he ain't had no kind of rights. I said, he can't even see his own mother. A loving, professional, supportive mother. But his constitutional rights, you name it, civil rights, human rights. I said, he doesn't have no quality of life. He doesn't have his family, his mother. He's not getting none of his hobbies. He's just been treated like crap. And I said, that's the reason why I'll sit my butt right down on a chair while they say they little pledge of allegiance. I said, because it has to be for me and my son. I said, because he ain't had no life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and justice for all and all that nonsense. And in a way, I haven't had it either. I said, because anytime you can't even see your own son, and all you doing is speaking out about the abuse and stuff. Now, the white mothers and stuff can raise sand. But like I said, there's a lot of racism because I've always been, slander with, you escalate your son. So I'm going like, well, these idiots don't know. So when the white kids or the white adults or teens, when they're having meltdowns at home, are they blaming these white parents when their children or teenagers or adults are having aggressive behaviors and meltdowns, which can be pretty common for autistic people, especially during the teen years? Because when, not all autistic teens, but a lot of autistic teenagers, they can probably have an increase in physical aggression, verbal aggression, and meltdowns because, you guessed it, puberty. So when the hormones is it's just too much for the nervous system. But so when they're having meltdowns, you think they're telling these white parents, you escalate your son and daughter. They were just essentially blaming me for his meltdowns. But then when I would come over there, I said, but he's been with you people. Y'all been the one that's been setting him off and triggering him. When he's blurting out and crying, begging me to bring him back home, does that sound like he's got a problem with his mother? When he tells me, you all have restrained him, your staff has beaten him, your staff has hit him in the head, hit him in the back, or your residents and stuff, they could not care for my son as an autistic resident. It was too noisy for him, and I got hundreds of tapes. And that's why I said I'm going to let people hear my son in his own words, in his own, from his own mouth, tell me, and my heart would just be breaking in two. And it's painful even now to hear these tapes, but I have to go through them to upload them and to label them, with the date and also with the, the content, what he's telling me on the tapes. And I got hundreds of more. But I tell any of them, I said, you people ain't nothing but legalized filth. You ain't no better. You're worse than these criminals out in the street. And that's the reason why the Bible talks a lot about injustice. And that's what he's talking about. He's talking about these people in the legal system. Amos chapter 5, the book of Amos chapter 5, I forgot what verse, but it's in chapter 5 of Amos. It talks about how, that scum takes they hate anybody that comes in. Where the book of, I think not Psalms, but Proverbs got a lot of stuff about, how the judges are corrupt, the courts are corrupt, they take bribes. But in the book of Amos chapter 5, it talks about how they hate people that come in and tell the truth, that they don't like justice. And then in Proverbs, and it's in chapter 30, verse 14 of Proverbs, it says that, and I use today's English version, but, I'm going to just quote it. Proverbs Proverbs chapter 30, verse 14. Because I have it written down. I have to make sure that I get it. So it's Proverbs 30, chapter 14. And this is from the Good News Bible, which is today's English version. Quote, "There are people who take cruel advantage of the poor and needy. That is the way they make their living." Unquote. Bingo. So, everybody's in it for a paycheck. Like, you got a lot of people, like with Eric Holder, the former Attorney General in Obama's administration, when he called Americans cowards, he's talking about people that won't speak up, just to save their job. Like that racist, nasty court investigator, last one I dealt with, not Eric Horvath. He's the one that lied and slandered my son and said that my son was very happy living there. And I, got a racist, trashy woman by the name of Heidi Hughes to admit that, she didn't say, well, Eric Horvath is lying, but she said, oh, Marquis ain't never said that. But you're here, it's on this tape. But the latest, or the most recent court investigator, because I report, I said, he ain't been able to see his own mother over 3 years. But the latest one that I talked to, and his name is, I think his name is Keith Somalis or Somodis or whatever, because I can't remember how he spelled his name and stuff. But I had to tell him, I said, but when God talks about injustice, he's talking about all you people that works in the illegal system. He's not talking about the average Joe on the street. And I said, you ain't going to say anything about it because you're trying to keep your job. They all go along to get along. They scratch each other's back, and they work in concert. It'd be unpopular if somebody stood up and said, hey, that's wrong what you're doing to that young man and his mother. To separate them. Because you're not really supposed to separate a family unless there's some type of dysfunction or abuse or neglect. And like I said, I have never abused and neglected my son like they're doing, because I love him too darn much. And I'm kind of baffled. I said, well, I love my son just as much as they love their kids. And I said, what, they expect for me to walk away from Marquis? Well, see, I would be doing God a dishonor, because I know he's in control. And if he want Marquis back home, he come back home. When he says he's going to come back home and how he's going to make it happen. So number one, as a Christian, I'm not going to say what they have the final say, because they don't. I said, because God will use people that other people count out. Now, my motherhood don't mean a dilly squat to them, because I'm black. Because they wouldn't do that to a white mother. And, of course, Marquis don't mean diddly squat. They're just using him for a cash cow. But he means everything to Jesus and to me. So we'll let God settle the case. But I believe that the Lord is using me to expose, because he knows that I'll get evidence. And there's a lot of people that they have this, lied about, a lot of parents and stuff like that, but they won't get evidence. I said, but I'll do it as long as I got this garbage in me and Marquis's life. Because when I say it, I just like to have my evidence. So if I have to, with corrupt scum like that, if I have to tape and I get pictures and stuff, and like I said, go to my Facebook pages. And the first two go from the very beginning, and it's just full of evidence. Pictures or photographs, documents, recordings, just full. That's why I do it. So anyway, on this tape, and like I said, he turned 25, and I hadn't seen him in over 3 years. And I just have to trust God that he's still alive. You know, that he won't be in a wheelchair and the broken legs and all this kind of stuff. But I said, I'm going to put these tapes out here. And, you know, Aaron Sanford, that filthy, you know, and I don't cuss, but, you know, I just describe people. I said, she's just a dirty, corrupt, filthy, lying, sick, evil piece of crap. And her cohorts ain't going to say nothing to me about it. Because I went to the page where because I think her former law partner, which is another corrupt guardian, fraudian, kicked her to the curb. So she's now with the Nye Law Group. And I went to the page and put a scathing thing on there. And you know they went ahead and contacted Facebook and had them remove it. I said, but it sure ain't, and every bit of it's true. But she's the main one that's keeping Marquis hidden and isolated from me. She's the main one. Because she's the fraudian guardian. So, and I feel like reading this thing too. But I know I have it saved, but I don't think, because I got 60 minutes to get all this in here. Oh yeah, this is where I had sent this to the Ohio Supreme Court Disciplinary Council to let them know how Marquis was being abused and neglected, and what Sanford was doing to him. And then I also told them about what a liar she is, which is supposed to be a no-no. I mean, if you go to Ohio Supreme Court Disciplinary Council, I'm trying to talk fast so this doesn't run out. If you go to that website, it'll say a lawyer is not to lie to a client or to the court. Well, she has lied and slandered me something terrible, and I got proof of it. You know, I got audio videos on my YouTube channel. Just look for where I say lying, Flawyer, Aaron Sanford. Just look for the title of it and listen to it. And I got proof showing what a liar, pathological liar she is. But anyway, they'll say on their website that they don't have any tolerance for a lying lawyer. They're not to lie, you know, to the court. They're not to lie to a client. And she lied on me 3 or 4 times to the court. So I put that in there too when I wrote them. You know, it's called a grievance. And they didn't even acknowledge that. They just said, well, we don't have jurisdiction for them. You have to go to probate court about your son. And that's how, you know, they sweep things under the rug. They just won't acknowledge it. And you can have evidence of it. Same way with racism. That's why it's so sick in this country, because it's going down. God's already got the pathways, everything, because I don't think the United States is even in biblical prophecy. When you talk about the further wars, the battle of Gog and Magog, now Russia, China, Iran, of course Israel is going to be the center point. But the United States ain't nowhere around. This country's going to be gone. The great Babylon is going to fall because it's been so evil and wicked and hypocritical. You know, in God we trust. And it's been just as racist. It's never been a Christian country. Never, ever. Not really. And you can't mock God. But, you know, the way they do marriage nowadays, what's accepted, the racism thing's been here since July the 4th, 1776. So this country is going to fall. But I don't believe it's in biblical prophecy. As you get further down, this country will be destroyed somehow and everything. But because it's been very arrogant and prideful too. And God hates pride. And, you know, David Belinsky was an attorney that God put his light out for being so daggone evil and arrogant. I said, bad enough if you're corrupt. But to brag about it and think you're unstoppable and all powerful and stuff like that, and think you're phenomenal. Ain't nobody all powerful except for God. That's who's all powerful. And this man did me wrong. He's the one that filed to get my guardianship away for the system. He's part of the system. Because these people run down here. I could write a book. These people run down and get their friends in the system that happens to be a lawyer. Oh, you file it. You file it. We like to take her. Because see, with a person like me, they want to get your guardianship away. And they said I wouldn't consent. I said, well, I'm a registered nurse. I've been an RN for 31 years now. I ain't got no problems with consenting for my son to get assessment and evaluations. He's been getting them ever since he's been born. And he already had one on that was still, active for CDC. But that's what they had him go down there and file for. And then I got him on tape because we have a phone call that we had that was on tape. And he said, I shouldn't have done it because I didn't know you already had signed the consent. But, that's what he filed for my guardianship to be taken away. But for them, they want to get you out of the way if you're a mother like me. Because anything happened to Marquis, they don't have to tell me. They don't want me to know, if he gets injured or if he fell down the steps and broke his leg. And then they know that he can tell me stuff. So they don't want him telling me anything. Because Marquis has told me a lot of things that Sanford hasn't told me. Because they know I ain't going to keep quiet about it. But if I don't put another thing on there, on them other 2 pages, because I'm doing these audio tapes, I got enough evidence. I said, that's why nobody going to say nothing to me. Not Ron O'Brien, not Robert Montgomery, not John Kasich, not none of that scum. All they do is try to act like it never exists. Even if you got evidence, they'll still won't acknowledge it, which shows how sick and evil these people are. I said, because if you show me some evidence, I can say, yeah, okay. Even if I'm wrong, I can say, oh, okay, that's evidence. I realize that, that this is true. Because the proof, you got proof of it. But these evil, sick, racist people, even though you got evidence, they'll still try to deny it. But this country's full of people in denial. Just full. Especially about racism. Even some black people and stuff. Because I called into that one place and black woman answered the phone. And I said, I don't have a question. This is comment. I'm going to tell you how my son Marquis thinks he's been living. And I said the racist autism community gave him no support or me. I said, because that's the first pages I went to was autism pages on Facebook. Nothing. But they're all supporting Alice Spankalakis because he was white, but his mother ended up killing him. Then the woman said, well, can we have your number just in case we want to contact you? Because I said, my son ain't been able to see his own mother in 3 years. I said, he has no quality of life. I said, he's been suffering and everything else. I said, but I'm a victim in this thing too. I said, because I'm baffled because, that they think that that I don't love my son. Well, wait a minute, I'm a black mother, so I don't love it like the white mothers. I treat them different. But, she was shocked at that, but I ain't got no phone call from them people. I said, she probably worked for the Franklin County Board of DD. Because they're all in it together. Even a lot of these white mothers of the autism community that run these things, they don't have any problems with the government and stuff. Because their kids are getting treatments and therapies and not being treated like crap. So, I said, but ain't none of that scum. None of them. I don't care where they work. If they work in the DD field or if they work in the illegal field. Ain't nobody can say nothing. Because that's what I tell them. Go to the pages and get out of my face. And go in denial when you go to the pages. I said, because I done exposed a lot of stuff. Just with me and my son's case. And I know he's not the only one. But I love my child. I said, and I'm going to show them. I said, they don't care nothing about our rights. Or our lives. Or anything. I said, but I do. I care about my son. And so does God. I said, I don't need racist, sick people to cure anything about my motherhood rights or my son's rights. Because I'm showing my care. I said, he's not going to just be lost in the system. I said, I'm telling his story, and I'll let God do the rest. So anyway, on this particular tape, it's 7 minutes. It's on a micro cassette, so it's not that clear. It's from November 26 and 27, 2012. Marquis was telling me conversations about being restrained. He tells me that he misses me. And they used to make him feel like a criminal because it's like they were telling me he's misbehaving and bad behavior. So he always say, I suck and I'm bad. I tell him, I said, no, you don't. You don't suck. But they made him think he was doing something wrong when they didn't even know how to keep him from going into sensory overload. They didn't have the environment appropriate for him and everything. It's just ridiculous. But first you'll hear that racist trash by the name of Heidi Hughes. Because she got on the stand and said Marquis didn't need to be around me and stuff. But of course she's going to say that. She's going to march to her orders so she can keep her job. I was mentioning that Eric Horvath lied and said Marquis said he was very happy being at CDC. And she admitted that Marquis ain't never been happy and he had never said that. Then she calls me and tells me Marquis was pounding the walls, so they didn't want me to come over there and visit. Because, see, they wouldn't allow me to go over to the living area because, you know, they don't let Myra go over there and see all of that stuff and expose us. So she, CDC made a decision that when Marquis visited me, he had to come across out of the living area into a building. They were so afraid of me seeing how filthy it was. But I did used to go over there and see it. I have been over there and seen the hairballs, the dust, heard the noise, the roaming staff. It was just awful. So she tells me not to visit him. So they deny him a visit with his mother because they set him off. He was pounding walls. I said, probably because of the noise. I said, you know, my son can't take that. That puts him in sensory overload. Then you'll hear, I think it was Matt Hoffman that told me that Marquis was denied a visit because of his behavior. Then you'll hear Marquis said he was bad and restrained. I told him, I said, no, you're not bad. I said, when people mistreat you, don't mean anything. You don't have to do anything wrong for people to mistreat you. Look at the way they did Jesus. The Bible said he was without sin, yet he was numbered with the transgressors. He was executed with 2 criminals. He was treated like a criminal. But he wasn't hanging up on that cross because he done anything wrong. I said, just because people treat you wrong, treat you bad, don't mean you done anything. There's some sick, evil, racist people in the United States of America. And it just shows how sick and wicked they are. And they can be judges. They can be, in law enforcement. It doesn't matter. You know, if they got that evil and prejudice and racism in their heart, it'll come out. And only Jesus can take care of that, not a civil rights law. So, and then he said he wants to come back home. And he tells me the place sucked. Now, I've heard that hundreds of times. So it's all over all the different tapes throughout, the years and stuff. And he begged me to come and get him. And he told me that he misses me. And he wanted to leave for discharge. And that he'd been missing me for a long time. And then I got, at the end of that same day, that he was restrained times 2. 2 times he was restrained. The first time was at 10:23 a.m. lasting to 10:57. Which traumatized my son and terrorized him. Doesn't deter him. It makes him more, scared. Because, they have very, very sensitive, their space and stuff. If you were scared of the environment already in overload, you'd be scared for people to put their hands on you. But see, they try to make him feel like he was a monster. No, he pounding on the walls because you don't know how to keep it quiet for your autistic resident. See, they didn't know how to work with my son because he was autistic. That's a MR facility, Columbus Developmental Center, intermediate care facility for the mentally retarded. So they didn't know how to work with my son because my son was autistic. And the Franklin County Board of DD went ahead and told the corrupt probate court that Marquis was moderately retarded so that they can get him committed over there. And he's not. My son is not moderately retarded. He's high functioning autistic. And there's a big difference between mental retardation and autism. It's about as different as day and night. So, and that's why I got these tapes. I come over there, my son would let me know that he was wanted to come home, that they were mistreating him, that he was upset and crying. It just tear my heart out. I said, that's reason why, it's good that I don't have to sit across the table with that filth. Because I would feel like I'm just sitting up with a bunch of garbage. I ain't gonna even call them criminals. Criminal is too good of a word. I would just feel like I was sitting in a room like a landfill. And they sit up in your face and stuff and doing all that injustice and stuff. I just feel like I'm just in a room with a bunch of garbage. So the first restraint was from 10:23 a.m. to 10:57 a.m. So that was probably about a little over 30 minutes. And then the other one, I believe, was 11:04 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. I said, because you're not supposed to keep them in restraints. I said, but they probably had him screaming and yelling, terrorizing, and everything else. So I'm going to get ready and play this. I love you, Marquis. Happy 25th birthday. Jesus is with you. I'm telling your story, sweetie. And it'll be out here forever and a day, And I'm not worried about anything. I already had a whole bunch of audio tapes that I started. Ain't nobody going to say buku nothing to me. Not none of that trash that sits at probate court of Franklin County, Ohio, Franklin County government, Franklin County prosecutor, state of Ohio government, consumer support services, all that trash. And wait till I get to those tapes. And Marquis telling me how the staff choked him and pulled on his arm and all that stuff. All of that. And the tape that I heard him verbally abusing my son and grabbed the phone away from me and everything. But I haven't got to that year yet. But it's coming. Aaron Sanford, sue me if you want to with your filthy self. Because she's just a filthy, nasty, nasty, racist lawyer. And, because I can't have respect for somebody that, I said, these people lie and everything. Ain't nothing ethical about them. They practice injustice. And not every lawyer and not every judge, because I don't know every lawyer and judge, but the ones in me and Marquis' case. And I said, Franklin County I call it Stanklin County, and the state of Ohio, I said, these people Attorney General Mike DeWine, he running for governor, and they did everything to keep Marquis over there at CDC and make money off him. And the Lord, I said, I wish I can give the papers of his office charging me $493. I said, for one thing, my son didn't ask to be over there, and I don't pay people money for abusing and neglecting my son. And then they went ahead and knocked it down to $30. Yeah, they were charging me $493 while they were over there abusing and neglecting my son. I said, these people just pure filth. Every last one of them. I said, so sue me. Because I'm putting it out here. And because I think that's the way God wants me to do it. He said, you step back, I'll handle getting him back home. Because it's going to take me to do it. Because that's a whole army of just corruption. Just, scum. These people are just the lowest of the low. I said, because anytime you abuse and neglect and exploit disabled people just to keep a paycheck, because they make a living from this thing 24/7. I said, they ain't going to get no respect from me, let alone intimidation. I said, because I don't respect nobody but God. I said, because this ain't nothing but pure trash, and I know the devil can be defeated. But anyway, here we go. I apologize that it's not that clear, but we're about ready to get to 2013. So in February and March of 2013, I think I start recording on a smartphone, the voice recorder, so it'll be a lot clearer. But this is on a micro cassette. So here we go.
Heidi Hughes. No, he's never said he's absolutely here. Well, he's decided that he is threatening and pounding walls, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. So, at this point, we're feeling like it really isn't safe for us to bring him over to to him today or something. Heidi, I just left you a message. Calling on November 26th, 2012, probably about 4:35. You left the message said not to come and visit him because you didn't think you can get over to y'all and bring him over to the coffee shop because he's having some aggression. But yeah, of course, I don't know if the message went through, but I was saying that I just don't like not seeing him because he looks forward to seeing me. And y'all can't get him over there, which is why he should be able to visit on his own unit. So you would have to take him for a distance. But I will call the grounds office and have them to get respect for the unit for me to call him at 6 p.m. because my son looks forward to talking to me and seeing me, and that's going to really be confusing if he doesn't see me. It's just a bad situation all around. And Dr. Navick heard about Marquis. I think he's being triggered by the noise over there, among other things. So I will call the grounds office and see if I can talk to him at 6. Casey, Heidi Hughes left me a message saying that I couldn't see Marquis today because of something that was happening over there on the unit.
Marquis is exhibiting some intense behavioral tendencies here. Person of the area, we thought it might be a good idea to just let him calm down and maybe see how we're going.
Well, he's probably being triggered by all that noise over there. I keep trying to tell people that I'll set off autistic people every time because he was telling me about it. I don't like to say complaining. He was reporting that noise level was bothering him yesterday. Of course, he misses me. I don't like not seeing him because it confuses him. So what I'm going to do is probably go ahead and call him around 6. Hi, dude.
Hi, man.
How was your day? They said you couldn't visit today. How was your day?
Bad.
I wanted to come and see you.
I got restrained today.
You did? Are you all right?
Huh?
Are you all right?
No.
Okay, so there you have it. So, okay, so there you have it. I just copy that over again. So the second time, they put him in restraints um, like 2 times. And the second time, it looked like he was in those restraints for a good 44 minutes. Because the first time was 10:23 a.m. to 10:57. Then he went right back in them around 10 minutes later at 11:04 to 11:50, traumatizing, terrorizing my son. And he's having his behaviors because they didn't know how to have an appropriate environment. They fell and they were very incompetent with my son who had autism. He wouldn't have been, pounding on the walls if it would have been not too loud for him. And maybe the abusive staff probably didn't know how to talk to him, probably told him he was misbehaving, like that idiot that told me told my son he was misbehaving because he wouldn't get on the van at the end of one of our visits. I said, no, because Marquis would always tell me that he was scared of the van because the way they drive it and it backs up, kind of just the sensory thing, And of course, they don't know anything about autism. And I'll tell Ron O'Brien and Robert Montgomery and all that other trash, John Martin, the director of Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. I said that you can't know about autism and you treat my son like that. But Marquis would say that he was scared when they back up the van. And so that's the reason why he didn't want to get on the van. And plus, the primary thing, he's getting ready to leave mom. And my son would beg me to take him home. You can hear him begging me and crying. Even on this tape, you can hear him begging me to come and get him. And saying he wanted to go home. I said, he's not misbehaving, idiot. He doesn't want to get on the van because he's scared the way y'all drive it. As an autistic individual, it's hard for him, because he gets to rocking when he gets in the van, but the way they would break it and drive and back up and stuff. And I just couldn't believe it. I said, but I'm going to put this stuff out here. I'm not worried about anything or nobody and stuff because I'm in God's hand, but I believe he wants me to put this out here. And I'm going to tell Marquis a story until Jesus brings him back home. I said, because I just have to trust God. I got a house waiting for Marquis, all his stuff, all his gifts and everything. I said, because I'm not going to I still buy gifts for my son. Love you gifts, birthday, graduation, Valentine's Day, Resurrection Day, Jesus' Day, clothes and everything. I said, because I'm not going to, I ain't going to never see him again. I said, no, I ain't going to believe that. I said, because that's up to God. That ain't up to Aaron Sanford and her filthy self. So anyway, like I said, there you have it. You heard Heidi Hughes at the very beginning said Marquis ain't never said he was happy. And no, he's not happy. And then it went right into, you can't visit today because Marquis was pounding on the walls. I said, yeah. I started saying, well, maybe if you people knew how to keep it quiet around my son since he has autism. He's pounding on the walls because you idiots threw him in sensory overload because you don't know how to manage, your environments and and maintain a comfortable sound level. And then that's when she told me I can't come over and visit because, it'd be hard to bring him over to the coffee shop. And then Matt Hoffman, I think that's who that was. I'm not sure, but he said that Marquis was denied a visit with me because, of his intense behavior and stuff. That they set off because they don't know how to, like I said, manage in the environment for Marquis. Complete failure, incompetence, corruption, the whole bit. Then Marquis gets on his arm next, and he was saying he was restrained because he was bad. Because they make him think he was some kind of monster and stuff. I said, oh, no. I said, because these people don't know what they're doing. And they're just corrupt. And I'm putting it out there. I don't care if it's 50 years later, I'm putting this stuff out here. because Marquis going to come back home. When Jesus brings him back home, we're going to go on with our life and do the ministry and anointing that God wants us to do while these people will be exposed forever, because the pages ain't going no place. And then he said he wants to come back home. This place sucks. And then he begs me to come and get him, and that he misses me. He's been missing me for a long time, and he wants to leave for D.C., and then there's the restraint. So there you have it. Look for more on the audio tape page, the justice page, the abuse and neglect page. Start from the very beginning, and you'll see all the evidence that they don't want me to collect anymore, because there's a lot of pictures, documents. The YouTube channel, I also have a YouTube channel, and it's got a lot of audio tapes. Those are the recordings, but I got Sanford and them on the justice page too. Those are the recordings that prove that she lied on me to the court. Because the lies that she told, I was able to rebut it with the actual truth. How it really, really happened. That's just the way I do it, you know. And I said, these people think they, you know, are better than other people and they want you to respect them. I said, they're just filth. They're just that scum that the Bible talks about that practices injustice. Simple as that. I said, because I'll take them on. Expose their butts. And I said, you know, I said, they're probably retaliating against me. We're going to keep your son. But Lord said, no, well, you know, am I in control or are they in control? I said, you're in control. So they ain't going to keep it no longer than Jesus is going to allow. That's the way I feel about it. But I said, Lord, you let me see what you did with David Belenke. When you spanked these booties, I want to see it too. Please, you got me spoiled. But, you know, the victory belongs to Jesus. So when he brings Marquis home, I'll have victory and stuff. I said, but if you want to, because sometimes God will punish people and stuff. You know, you're so evil and corrupt, he'll just take you off the planet. Or something happened in your family and stuff. You wonder why people have these misfortunes or, you know, karma, they call it. But God just, you know, vengeance is mine, I will repay. That's what he says in Romans chapter 12. Marquis, I love you. Happy birthday. I think about you every single day. I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you. You're not bad. You're an anointed young man that God's going to use in a mighty way, and I'm proud and honored to be your mother. And I'm looking forward to the ministry that we'll have together, and God will use you in a mighty way. Stay strong. Jesus loves you, and Mom loves you. And I'm looking forward to you coming back home. Got a lot of stuff waiting for you. God's going to restore everything they've stolen from you. Stay blessed. You're in my prayers every day, my thoughts every day, my heart. I love you. And happy 25th birthday.